Yo, bro, welcome to the podcast. I mean, hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and the Fool. This one's a little more foolish on the left-hand side than usual.
Yeah. I was thinking, actually, it'd be interesting to... I don't know if there's a website for this. There's websites for YouTube videos that have no views.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting if there was one for YouTube channels that had... let's say, more than 100 videos and less than 1,000 views or something. Like, people that are just dedicated and nobody watches.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's one channel, it's just a guy turning on his computer every day.
Yeah.
And I think there's quite a few of them, and what's going on there is probably their employers are spying on them, and so their computer's automatically set up to upload a YouTube video when they turn it on just to see if they're actually working.
Yeah.
And then they don't want to store it on their own servers, so they just send it to YouTube.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff like that, but actual real videos would be those would get thrown in the mix, but
Yeah.
be kind of like what's out there? Is there passionate people that are doing their thing, or
like a few insane people who just sit there and put too much work into...
Or I don't know, like there's a lot of channels that stall, right? Like Captain Sparkle stalled at 10 million for years, and then he just shot up after recently. And
my channel's currently stalling.
Your channel's stalling right now. Norovo's channel I watch. No, not him. He's always going up. Never Knows Best. They have the same accent.
Yeah.
That's they both have a
Ukrainian?
Essex accent, I think.
Yeah.
But Never Knows Best, he's kind of stalled around 100,000, which I think is a crime. Like, he is one of the best
Well, I mean,
channels out there.
their sort of a stall is more that they just go like bloop and then they can leap or whatever. Like, there's some people like, yeah, they had a channel running for 4 years, getting like 10 views a week, and then bam.
Yeah, and then the question is, looking at numbers, I think that sort of thing can cause you to give up. It's like, whew.
Yeah, well...
I mean, with your channel, that must be kind of, like, you were going exponential, and now you're flatlined.
Well, it's interesting because it was actually a little... So it's going exponential. It was...
Although technically, we're looking at acceleration, not... Because you're still growing. You're not shrinking.
Yeah.
Your growth rate has stopped.
Yeah, so the growth rate has... But basically, it peaked, I think, around May is when it peaked. And then it continued throughout the summer, and it was actually declining throughout the summer. And then it hit September, which is historically, from 3 years of data, the worst viewing time on my channel.
Yeah.
And then on October, I put an insane amount of work into my channel, and it jumped up to, I think, like the third highest it's ever been in October. And then it's gone back towards the summer levels, like almost September, but sort of stayed steady there. Of course, I basically took a week off and haven't been putting enough effort in. I also stopped live streaming because live streaming is too much effort.
I heard live streaming can do weird things to your views. So.
Yeah, no, it was. Live streaming does very weird things to your views. And I just stopped live streaming, and I feel like I have way more time now, and it's like way more relaxing because, I mean, sure, I'm only live streaming for 2 hours, but it's like, okay, I have to start this schedule right here at the 2 hour mark, then go forward, then stop, and get through all of that, and I have to prepare for it, and it's just... takes a lot of energy, the whole thing.
Did you beat that whole hardcore thing?
Yep.
Oh, you're going to edit that down at some point?
Yes, I plan to, and it's going to be at 360p or whatever it is, but
so
yeah, but then it's sort of like stalled out again because I think stopped live streaming, although the live streaming I think was actually boosting things up. And I mean, when I had my master, like bam, that was the month after this one. It's like right near the end of this month. And then it sort of jumped after that. And it's not saying it's going to happen again like that, but basically it felt pretty stalled, even though growth there was like going up towards 1,000, like, oh, going towards 1,000, and it felt like it stalled. So you can never know. But the decline throughout the summer basically taught me, which I think is a very valuable thing to learn on, like 3 years on is still, I feel, kind of early in channel, but it's like, yeah, you won't always do amazing. You won't always have exponential growth. Sometimes you'll stall, might stop, whatever.
Well, it's funny. In the last year and a half, your channel's like 10 times in size. Like it's gone up
Well,
by a whole factor.
Yeah, well, I was looking at it, and it's like 2 months ago or something, I think it was. A year and 2 months ago. Or a year and 3 months ago, I
You're at
think.
like 300.
I had my 200 subscriber video.
Mm.
And so it's just like, ugh.
So on one hand, it's stalled, but on the other hand,
If I'm getting around 200 a month.
you're going back to maybe what you should have been at in some respects.
Yeah, well,
But-
the channels come in waves. Like, I've noticed this, and the wave didn't follow the pattern of taking a year, and they never have. They sort of have weird things. But my channel is literally, you can look at its history. It has waves where it goes like whoop, and then it dips down for a while, then it jumps up, and then dips down, and jumps up, and
Cryptocurrency is the same, actually, if you look at it. Like, I made 50% returns on it.
Yeah.
But the moment I bought it, basically, the whole market crashed. And it crashed for like 2 years.
yeah,
And I didn't sell that whole time because I saw, like, if you looked at the history of Bitcoin the whole time, it would, like, go 10 times in price and then crash down to only double.
Yeah.
And I bought it at the 10 times, and then it crashed down to double. But I knew, like, okay, bad time to buy. But it should repeat. And then I sold it at the top, basically at the very top of its next peak.
yeah,
And then it crashed hard, and now it's higher than it's ever been, I think. But and why I sold it actually was for several reasons. I realized I didn't have money to play around with anymore,
yeah,
so I was like, I need to take it out either way. Like, if I believe in it or don't, I need to take it out because I don't have money to play around with. This is only do stock market, only do like stock market. Like if you invest in Pepsi,
yeah,
you don't really need to. Pepsi has, I think, the steadiest growth in history. Like it goes up 2% every year without fail or something.
Yeah.
It's just rock solid. But with Bitcoin, you're gambling, essentially. So another reason I got out was I was learning more about what happened with Quadriga, which I was going to shift all my currency over to.
yeah,
And I realized, holy cow, Coinbase, Quadriga, at any point, they can just stop and take all your money. Unless you use Bitcoin for the one purpose it was created and you keep the money yourself. You keep the ledger yourself.
yeah,
I wasn't keeping the ledger myself. And my health wasn't in the position where I could set it up properly. Like I couldn't create a cold storage ledger. I don't know what they're called properly. I couldn't download my Bitcoin basically.
yeah,
So I realized if they scam me, there's nothing I can do. So I need to get out because I can go back in once I'm able to do it myself. And the third reason is I really don't like the way Bitcoin's been going. It's all been about, like when I bought Ethereum, I bought it because I was like, this is going to be the future. You see Venezuela, the people are all switching over to it because they don't trust their own currency. It's universal currency, trackerless. It's great. Anonymity.
It avoids banks.
Yeah, you avoid government, you avoid banks. Very useful for, well, crimes especially, but for everything as well. If you just want to be anonymous, if you don't trust your government. I mean, you call it a crime, but in China, for example, the digital yuan, you lose money if you don't spend it. So that they keep their market economy going. But the government actually steadily deletes your money if you don't spend it. So if you want to actually have control over your money. Now, that happens with money anyways because of inflation. But the Chinese government is doing this top down.
Yeah.
And if you're in a country like Japan where inflation is basically zero, then if the Japanese government just came along and said, hey, your money's going to go down now, sucks to be you.
Yeah.
That would suck. So Bitcoin is a way to avoid that, which is nice.
I mean, Japan has had massive inflation, but now it's very settled.
Or if...
yen used to be equivalent to $1. So consider that as the inflation they went through.
So I think it's Japan that has zero inflation. I could be wrong. Japan's economy has stalled anyways.
Yeah.
Like they don't, their total gross value of the country isn't increasing, but I don't think it's decreasing either.
Yeah.
But the problem is their population's declining now. So it might be a long-term, like a lot of economists say this is really bad. But if your population goes down and your money stays the same, I think that might actually work.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, sidetracked. Another thing is, so yeah, there's the security aspect, which is nice. I had a second thing on that, but I don't remember. But then,
I was just thinking a lot of economy right now. The model we use is kind of agar, like having bacteria grow until it can no longer save itself, and then the whole thing dies.
Yeah, well, the goal is to never stop growing.
Yeah, well, that's the goal of the bacteria as well, and it never works out for them.
Well, maybe we
The
just
jar I have full of rotten fruit juice proves that. They're all dead and they're no longer growing mold on top of each other.
The thing about that is they don't have access to space. Well, humans don't either, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
And Earth is very big. Now it's getting smaller and smaller because we are there's more and more people. But the aspect which I really don't like about Bitcoin, which has been happening, is like I said, the speculation.
Mm-hmm.
So people aren't buying it for the reason they're buying it just
To make get in, get out.
Get in, get out, which defeats the whole point. They're just gambling at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. And what it's also doing is it means that Bitcoin mining is very profitable.
Yeah.
And what that does is, well, you're creating a massive bubble for one thing. So it's dangerous. That money's all going to disappear overnight at some point.
Yeah.
Instead of Bitcoin being used how it's supposed to be used. Now, Bitcoin has a very high potential market cap. Like, it could be all of the world's currency in theory. So maybe the bubble will steady at where it is right now or even higher. But at some point, it's all going to come crashing down if people continue speculating like they are.
Yeah.
And the secondary aspect to that is Bitcoin has become an environmental concern.
Yeah.
So the graphics cards that are running are actually drawing so much energy. It's actually dwarfing like nations.
Yes.
It's become a huge problem.
It was very upsetting. I think it was in Germany that a place was illegally stealing power, basically, as a warehouse, and had 20 Bitcoin mines in it. And the German police, to prove a point, drove over the computers with a bulldozer.
There's a shortage on those things.
Yeah, well, that's like
just seize them.
Yeah, honestly, there's this whole thing about police making money, which is seizing property that's illegal
and do a police auction or something,
and then doing police auctions, reselling it.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, and these were like intense miners that were drawing so much power. How they discovered them is they caused a blackout in the city in this warehouse.
So yeah, that's an issue. We're getting NFTs now, which a lot of people think might have a use, but no one's really come up with one yet.
Well, also there's a massive problem with NFTs, which is called screenshotting.
Well, that's for artwork, but there's NFTs are a digital signature, so you can use it for anything.
Yeah.
So here's the use case that the metaverse offers.
Mm-hmm.
You are playing Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And you unlock a cool knife skin.
Yeah.
And you're told this is a super rare skin. There's only 10 in existence.
Yeah.
And you're like, cool. So now you have this really cool knife skin, and you have its NFT. So you think, well, what's the difference? That you can do that now with like Team Fortress hats or whatever.
Yeah.
But you go onto Facebook, and your avatar can have this knife because you have the NFT for it. So the transferability is, but that only works if all the companies use the same blockchain and if all the companies work together, which they're not going to do.
And also if a 3D modeler and modder just doesn't go.
Yeah.
Boop.
Oh, here's a copy that I built. Yeah. So you could determine fakes quite easily, probably. But who cares?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, your laptop that can run any game like instantly. It isn't a real Dell. You just put the Dell logo on it. It's like, I don't care if it works like a Dell or better than a Dell and it looks like a Dell but it's not a Dell. I don't care.
There's probably a Singer joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, but so that's a use for the NFTs. But the problem with that is the companies aren't going to work together.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes the same thing as having a Steam account or a Uplay account.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, okay, so the modelers for Call of Duty, they make this knife and they make this texture. The modelers for Facebook's metaverse lobby might not want to implement that. The animations might not line up. So it's worthless.
Yeah.
In that sense. So I think I read a use case, but I can't. It wasn't to do with games. It wasn't. But they're getting.
It wouldn't be secure data transfer to someone giving them a NFT, because they're meant to be like very hard to crack files, aren't they?
No, they're just proofs of ownership.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't actually embed the object within the NFT.
Oh.
So a lot of those image NFTs, they give you a link to a Google Drive, essentially. So it's not actually storing the data within the NFT. Yeah. The difficulty of running the NFT is because of the difficulty of the calculation itself.
Yeah.
The power you have to go through to actually run the whole blockchain. So if the image was embedded within the NFT, I could actually see a use for that.
The guy who...
Of course, it'd be so massive we couldn't.
The guy who came up with the concept of NFTs, has he made a lot of money from it?
I don't know.
Because he better for this scam.
Have you seen Ubisoft wants to add them into their games now? And EA has a head of... I think it's EA has a head of NFTs now. And Jason Schreier, who... excellent journalist, whatever else he might be. But he interviewed the guy, and he's like, so your job's head of NFTs? He's like, yeah, they're the future. They're great. He's like, what are you going to do? Well, we're not sure how to implement them yet. But it's like, wait, so they're the future, but you don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
You've just seen this flashy new buzzword that you want to throw in and make it. It's also tied into...
Meanwhile, the Steam team's going, what? We're on NFTs now? I thought we were still making up the internet. It's Valve just literally puts no work into their company besides the Steam store, and even then it's very, very lackadaisical.
Yeah, well, actually, I've noticed recently you can right-click on a workshop update, and look at most recently updated.
There's a joke about
a very basic feature. It only took 10 years to implement.
So the Steam team, so the store team, has 20 people working on it. Same with the CS:GO team. They might be the same group of people switching back and forth.
Right.
The Dota team has 10 people working on it, and half of them are also janitors. The Team Fortress 2 team is a moldy sandwich. And it's just like how little support they get.
I bet working at Valve is great, though.
Yeah.
Like, high pay, not too many staff, great environment. I mean, I don't know. I'm just theorizing, but...
You serve your Lord Gavin.
He seems to be a very rich, very generous sort of guy. So
yeah.
So that seems like that's why I'd want to work for him.
He's also incredibly miserly, though.
I don't know. He
I mean, Valve does donate.
He randomly flew a guy out for some reason at one point. I can't remember what it was, but the guy's like, "Fly me out, and I'll show you this." And he's like, "Okay."
That was for either TF2, Gary's Mod, or Dota. It was basically him saying, "We'll fund your mod into a game."
Right. Might have been Gary's Mod then. But yeah, and this whole metaverse thing as well is tied into that, where it's just jumping on the like Second Life has existed for 20 years.
Yeah.
MMOs have existed for 30 years. 30.
Was it
2 years?
VR Chat's 5 years?
VR Chat's been around for a while. I don't know when. And now metaverse. Oh, suddenly everyone's on it with when Facebook does it, and Facebook.
It's actually kind of ties into something I was listening to last night, the metaverse, which is I was listening to another podcast, and they were getting a little conspiracy, like talking about the metaverse, talking about putting chips in people's brains, like all the advancements in technology, AI, and all that stuff, coming up towards singularity, and they were using the singularity kind of wrong. But that's besides the fact. My thought was, these are all fallible people making these things, and given the quality of, like, this stuff is all digital, right?
Yeah.
And given the quality of all these companies and just human digital stuff in general these days, they're all, unless it's Apple doing it, they're all going to be shite. Well, like, the robots are going to take over the Earth. Oh, they need a firmware update. It's going to take 8 to 2 years for all the killer robots to destroy us.
One thing actually, robots are maybe the solution to this, but a lot of authoritarian regimes with their massive armies and their iron fist of control.
Yeah.
The armies are made up of individuals, and so the whole thing can just collapse.
Yeah.
Like, like the French Republic did when they went back to Napoleon, or when there was a good one. Well, USSR.
Yeah.
Just fell apart. It happens again and again when Egypt.
Yeah.
The soldiers joined the revolutionaries.
Yeah. Well, it's just that people are quite fallible.
Modern Egypt.
And also, the stuff they built can just be broken, or people can just change their minds. Like, I'm not going to serve the tyrants anymore. No.
But with robots, that could change, actually.
Yeah. Because
one person could command everyone. Like the head of Boston Dynamics, if they wanted to take over the world.
Oh no, the dogs are really good opening doors.
Like, they're already giving those things to the military. They're actually quite scary, really.
I thought one of the principles of robotics is those things actually can't be in the military.
Well, I think that's what they're made for, mostly. I'm not sure, but They already have those dogs in the military now.
Yeah, but I thought those things are like one of the rules of robotics is they're not allowed to have weapons.
I don't think there is rules. I think it's just people do whatever they want.
I'm pretty certain there's rules of robotics.
Well, like Asimov wrote the laws of AIs, and I believe the story where he wrote them, I could be wrong because I haven't read much Asimov, but I believe he actually subverts every single one of those laws within the story.
Yeah.
He shows how they'd be broken, how they'd be circumvented. So there's never really been a Geneva Convention of robotics that I'm aware of. It might exist.
Yeah.
Might be part of the Geneva Convention. It seems like it would fit. I mean, an amendment.
The one, I don't know, is very sci-fi thing, which is basically, so let's just grab two random countries. So, like the UK and Bhutan, okay.
Yeah.
So they both have robot armies.
Okay.
And they go to war with each other.
Yeah.
And then the robot armies fight, and then Bhutan wins, let's say.
Okay. This is getting very fantasy.
Yes. That's why I'm trying to go in that direction.
Okay.
As far away from reality as possible.
Yeah.
And then the UK citizen is like, all right, you are Bhutan UK citizens now.
Yeah.
And the citizens didn't fight. Their life doesn't really change. It's just like, oh, Bhutan rules us now because this little like robot battle happened. Or even going so far as there's just this scoreboard and it's like, all right, Bhutan has 2 points now, and that means they have more political influence or something.
Well, authoritarian regimes are actually similar. Like Nazi...
Like almost like flower wars with robots.
Yeah. But I'm thinking of like Nazi Germany, current China, Australia, Austria. They're all very controlling. I'm not going to put North Korea in this list because they are actually invasive, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong there. That you might actually be able to live a normal life as long as you keep your head down, even in North Korea. But it doesn't seem like it. But
No.
I could be wrong. But if in China, Australia, Austria, you're just like a normal dude. You're just like, oh, government says this, or it's like, oh, mandatory vaccinations, annoying government, whatever.
Yeah.
Or in China, it's like, oh, we got our own internet. Oh, we can't have those games. So I wish I could have those games. Or Australians, I wish I could have those games. I wish I could go outside. I wish they wouldn't shoot my dogs. But whatever, it's just the government. You know, just doing government things like killing toughies. Yeah. Then it doesn't actually really impact you that much. It's the same thing where, now this is much less of a bad thing, but when software companies take your data, like Microsoft, Google, video games, like Paradox takes all your data.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't care. Now, the weird thing that happens, I've noticed, is when I was complaining about Age of Wonders, and a lot of people were complaining about Age of Wonders, there's people that push, like BBB, when I talked to him about it, he's like, yeah, but everyone, like Bloody Battle Brain. Yeah. He was saying, yeah, they're taking my data, but everyone takes my data. I'm just kind of used to it at this point. And it's like, you know, he's just sort of going along with his life, doesn't care, doesn't want to, that's not the hill he's going to die on.
Yeah.
But then there's people that are, and it's like, okay, fair enough, you know, you don't want to get involved. I'm not going to blame you for, you know, there's the idea of if you stand back, you're part of the problem. I don't think so.
No.
You just don't want to get involved, fine, fair enough. But then there's the people, for some reason, defend it. Well, the companies have to make money, or, oh, well, you're just crazy. Why do you care so much about your personal data? Or everyone's stealing from you. Why are they in a problem? And if you don't make a stand ever, then you're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
You have to stop at some point. And the problem is, you have more negotiating power the earlier you make a stand.
Yeah.
So if you wait until, I don't know, they're taking your biometrics constantly, and you're not allowed to get out of your chair because then you'll get the renal thermometer removed, and so they force you to keep sitting. And that's when you make your stand. At that point, you don't have much to fight for anyways.
The data collection's actually quite...
Renal thermometers for only 2 hours a day, and that's it. I've drawn my line in the sand.
The data thing is quite invasive, though, because it's like I download an app, and then suddenly I'm like getting ads for a certain thing on YouTube, or I do something, like I search a few things, and I get ads for something. And, I mean, it's kind of funny how incompetent the system can be at times if you're not, I don't know what they expect, because I'll search a bunch of stuff at random because I need to do some research, and it's like, okay, this is the type of person you are. It's like, no, I don't need a mid-range sedan. Thank you very much. I was just looking up this type of car because I was curious. But yeah, it can be kind of like okay, so I did that recently, so I'm getting ads for this, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, the invasiveness I really
Yeah.
don't like. Facebook has an amazing system for tracking people. It's
Yeah.
on other websites. I use a DuckDuckGo blocker that will say, I'll be on a random website and they'll say, we blocked Facebook here. What? Why?
Yeah.
Why is Facebook everywhere? I got rid of Facebook recently and switched to Signal, as you know. And I did that partly because of Facebook's whole metaverse. They want to insert themselves more in your life.
Yeah.
And I decided, rather than them insert themselves more in my life, I will leave. I don't want to be a part of that. And also I've been noticing that there's nothing I gained from Facebook that I can't get elsewhere, basically.
Yeah.
It's sort of, I don't like it when people think they can get a hold of me, actually.
Yeah.
You probably know this about me, but like I would rather not have a phone number at all, and maybe in the future I won't, and I'll just only allow emails or even only letters, because I don't like it when people think they can get a hold of me. I would rather them say, okay, he'll get this in a month or so, and he may or may not reply. That's what I want from life.
Yeah.
And so I've got rid of Facebook. I switched to Signal. Signal, why I prefer, they seem very similar to Messenger in some ways, but
It's only Messenger.
it's more than that. The FBI recently court-ordered Signal to give all the information, all the transcripts they had on one of their users. So they gave a list of like every single thing that you can give in this list, you have to give.
Yeah.
So it was like age, social security number, history of all messages, everything. It was a massive list that they sent Signal. So Signal sent back the time the account was created. There you go. That's all the information we have on them.
Hmm.
Signal does not track you. Now, it could be bought and changed, but it is open source, which means, and I didn't do this just because I thought it'd be hard enough to convince a few people to use Signal in the first place.
Yeah.
There are forks of Signal that are that people have made because Signal is open source, that are free from any company oversight, but it's hard enough getting someone to switch to Signal. Like, you have to switch to this Linux version of Signal, or this...
You have to switch to my version of Signal I made. I forked my own version of Signal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's called Contact Cameron Maybe.
Yeah. It has a 50% chance just to delete your message. Just keep that in mind. I would actually... There's this huge thing in electronics about the two generals problem, where you don't... So you send a message, but you're not sure if that message got sent. So when a message gets sent, it sends a message back saying, hey, I got sent. But you don't know if that hey, I got sent message gets back. So it's like, how many times do you do this back and forth? I think, forget about it. Just widen the gap. Say, okay, there's a 0.5% chance of failure. No, just bring that up to like 10% chance. And then you say, actually, it is already pretty high. But you bring that up to like 20-30% chance.
I'm going to tell you the flaw in your thing immediately after that.
Okay. And then you bring it up to like 30%, and then people are like, hey, didn't reply to my message. It's like, oh, I didn't get it. And then that becomes the norm, where it's just like, oh, they didn't get it. I'll have to talk to them in person like a human being. And it's like, oh, they didn't get it. I'll have to talk to them in person like a human. And it will slowly shift people to realize this is very unreliable. Let's not do it at all.
So one funny thing is just before I tell you the problem with your thing, is the invention of the phone, like the house phone. People, actually a lot of people are upset of, like, you can get a hold of me? Like, why the heck would I ever want... No, they probably just, why would I want that? Because they're all proper when it's getting invented. But it's like, why would I ever want someone to be able to just get a hold of me?
By the blood of God, who's ringing at this now?
Yeah, like, someone get a hold of me. And so there's the operators at first, and it's like operator for this line operator, and then it's like that, and then cell phones, so it got like worse and worse and worse. And then it just
It's fine, she can't get in. Go on.
It just keeps going to that point. But so what you're saying is this faulty system. Now I'm kind of like I don't know, I was going to say an invasive species, or like a persistent nasty creature, which if I phone someone and they don't pick up, I will phone them about twice more, and then if they, on the very last one, then I'll leave a message, because like, oh, I ran to the phone, I couldn't get, maybe I'll get the phone call. So I will like sort of badger at phone calls.
Right.
And so if I know your messaging system's faulty, I will badger your messaging system.
Yeah, that could be an issue. I think it was a mistake, communication technology. I don't think it has positively affected our lives.
Well, I mean, it makes organizing birthday parties rather nice.
Yeah, but I don't care. Let's see. Okay, so that's a positive thing. Let's see. So when I was 8, I printed off a bunch of scrolls with a formal invitation to my birthday party, with a picture of a knight on them saying, "You're hereby invited to the Lord Cameron's hereby thingy." It probably wasn't Lord Cameron. It was just Sir Cameron, something like that. A knight-themed birthday party.
Yeah.
And then I drove to... My mom did all this, and my dad. But I drove to all my friends' houses and left it on their doorstep without them knowing. And that's an adventure.
Yeah.
Versus add to group, birthday party, 12 o'clock, boom. So, I'm not sure. Plus, I go to my friend's house occasionally. I just walk up to the door. Oh, hey, come on in. We go in. And now, I think the issue there, right?
Yeah.
The solution is people are cowards nowadays, myself included. Myself more so than most. What you need in my perfect world is my friend, if he's busy, I knock on the door and he says, "Oh, hey, Cameron, yeah, sorry, I'm busy right now."
Bugger off, you blackguard.
Yeah.
You've got 5 seconds to get off my property before I start blasting you.
Yeah, well, you need something akin to that. You need people to not be afraid to say no. Mm-hmm. You need people to say, "Hey, yeah, oh, thanks, great for stopping by, not right now."
Mm-hmm.
You know, come back 2 weeks, or just even say, "Yep, not right now, maybe next time."
Mm-hmm.
You need people to have the ability to say no.
That's very weird. What you're talking about is sort of before telephone. It's like your mate might pop over, and it's like, "Oh, it's now a good time to be here." And it's like, "Oh, yeah, sure, come in." And I think the thing that people worry about doing that is, so you pop over.
They're running around the house naked.
Well, I mean, that's one of the issues. But also, it's, if I'm here personally, then they're probably like going to have a harder time denying me from being here instead of like doing it over phone or over text. And like, even so, phone call, it's like you talk to someone on phone, you are much more guaranteed than with text because they might not reply. Like, I discovered with one of my friends who great deal of trouble getting hold of them because they're just like couldn't like go through the effort of doing text, that I would phone them and speak to them to organize stuff. And I have another friend who's like, the only way to get hold of him is to phone him and talk with him. And it's a lot more convenient, honestly, like phoning them and talking, not have to worry about, they might text and whatever. But people are sort of like, I don't want to phone them. It's scary to phone, or it's like, I have to answer the phone, and then...
Yeah, and I hate phone calls. I hate phoning people. Like, I am terrified of it personally. But
I kind of enjoy phoning people.
I think what's happened is the degradation of social skills, the more easily we're able to get a hold of each other.
Yeah.
Because if you're easy to get a hold of, you're easy to reject. It's low effort, it's low risk, low effort.
Like, if someone sends you a letter, I have to write a letter back to this jerk.
It's not... No, I don't think so. I think you should be able to reject anything. Mm-hmm. But when it's...
Well, I'm saying, like, these days, like, if someone sends you...
Yeah, because it's so much harder to reject a letter.
Email versus text. Like, email's a little bit more.
So, when someone sends you a text, you realize they put in basically no work, so you don't mind rejecting them, because you're not... But if someone drives out to your house, and they say, "Hey, anyone around?" And you say, "Oh, sorry, busy right now," you are rejecting a serious amount of effort they put in.
Yeah.
But you have every right to do that. Mm-hmm. You didn't ask for them to drive out to you.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's kind of one of those things where I think texting or phone calls are fine with people that can handle them. But the amount of people that can handle them is much smaller than the amount of people that use them.
Yeah.
I'm not a person that can handle them. I don't know if there are people that do use them properly out there.
I think I might.
Maybe they are.
Yeah.
But I think...
your best friend uses them pretty well with me.
I don't think he uses it well at all, personally, because he's always using it to communicate. Mm. He's always wanted to keep in touch with people. Like, if we didn't have Facebook or something, then, well, knowing him, I'd probably get a letter every week, but...
Yes.
Well, except he has troubles writing, so maybe not.
Yeah, well, see, one of the things talked about is like, oh, you put so little effort to that text, or so things like, it's actually easier for me to phone people because then I don't have to write and spell and like consider all of it, and also I can judge easier from people's voice what's going on, and it's even easier if I can like see their face to communicate with someone because then I can know how they're reacting and responding and actually talk properly. Because
Well, that's what human communication is about.
like
It's facial
found-
expressions.
So I was trying to talk with a friend over the phone because we hadn't talked in a while. As we like talked for an hour, and we both struggled to like continue the conversation, so we sort of ended. And then I met up with that friend, and we were talking in person. And the two of us couldn't stop yakking to each other because we were able to read each other's like bodies basically, and go, okay, yeah, this is a good conversation. We're both into this. We can keep going along this line. Oh, their expressions changed here. Let's change the conversation up. And
So it's much higher reward when you're in person.
Yeah.
However, have you ever had... I've had this happen a few times. You're in person with someone, and you have nothing to say.
Oh, I have one friend who is basically the whole existence with him, trying to talk with him is like that, and it's infuriating. Like, to spend time with him, there needs to be another person. Otherwise, we literally just both sit there, talk for a bit, then we'll read a book. And I'm like, huh, this passage from the book. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a different way of hanging out with a person. Like, there's also a different kind of genuineness, I find, because we both accept it at that point. Like, we both accepted that we have trouble talking to each other, but it's like, we could literally sit in the same room both reading comic books. And like, hey, this thing in comic books fine. It's like, and then we'll continue going on with that.
But that risk of it just...
Yeah.
Not even having it... Like, you're just... Someone drove me home once.
Yeah.
And, well, she's driven me home a lot of times. But this time, nothing to say.
Yeah.
So, you doing this? Yep. How about you? You doing that? Yep.
And that's hellish.
And it feels bad.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like a moron.
Mm-hmm.
They probably feel like a moron.
Yeah.
And you feel super awkward. Like, oh, do they hate me? Do I hate me? Do I hate them? Someone hates someone here. So there is a much greater risk. Whereas someone doesn't text you and you say, oh, they're just dreaming of you.
Yeah.
They're just busy dreaming of you. That's the best one I've seen. It's like it was like a dating thing. It's like, don't worry, bro. She's not texting back because she's dreaming of you.
Yeah.
But so I think people, they will take the easiest route out basically. And so even when I first got my phone,
Yeah.
when I first got data, I was at a restaurant with you and our dad, and a friend sent me a Facebook message, and I got it on my phone. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I can communicate with them away from home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to phone them with my phone, which is how we normally communicate. I don't have to log onto the internet, go into Facebook, because at that point, going on Facebook was an ordeal because I actually had a computer at that point, but it was this tiny little Ultrabook. No, not even Ultrabook. It's like a little web book that you can use to...
Half a RAM in it.
Half a RAM.
Yeah, half a RAM. Not quite even called a byte or a gigabyte. It just had half a RAM in
It could
it.
barely run anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just about go on the internet with it.
It was good for playing Battle of Westeros, and that's about it.
Yeah, and it crash like often.
Yeah, it's like, oh, use this thing to do your homework. Ugh.
And it hurt to use. It had...
Really hard keys.
yeah, I don't know if it had a touchpad or a little...
It had the touchpad. It didn't have those horrible little dots.
those little red things, yeah. I've used a lot of... I think that's why I have so many hand problems, because I used a lot of those red things in the past. But, so, coming from the perspective of not being afraid, not having an easy way out, it's great. It's magical.
Yeah.
But you get used to it very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And at that point, it becomes your easy escape. I think it's similar to something like sugar, morphine, anything.
Yeah.
Anything that is really good, but it's so good that you want to abuse it.
I think humans actually have an incredible ability, and probably some other animals have this as well, but...
To be lazy.
Lazy is part of it, but the human ability to accept and adapt to things is kind of absurd.
I find the idea of cosmic horror hard to swallow, just because I have troubles imagining anything that people wouldn't give them 6 months. They would just be like, yeah.
I mean, if there's a really horrid pile of poop, and you stare at it for a good hour, you're probably going to get used to it in that hour.
Well, actually, speaking of cosmic horror, Let's look at Relay and Cthulhu.
Yeah.
The city that breaks your mind, the horrible water creature that is unfathomably powerful, strong beyond belief, unkillable, and it's just a servant to a greater being.
Yeah.
Those have become, like, people make little plushies of them. They make role-playing games where you can kill Cthulhu or kill Hastur or something. The idea of a unspeakable horror has become reified, I think would be the term, where you turn a concept into a physical object.
Yeah.
Or into an object whatsoever, sorry. So you've turned a concept into an object, and then the object becomes ordinary.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I mean, like, tentacle horrors used to be the big scary thing, and now, like, tentacles.
I think...
Like, actually are. It's like, tentacles.
Well, the idea was the sea is the closest thing we have to the unknown at this point, basically. And besides space.
Yeah.
So... squid live in the sea, so it's the unknown.
Yeah,
you got the unknown creature. But yeah, it's definitely a. There was a study done where they got people to walk, with some just around in some shoes.
Yeah.
And so they measured their walking. They measured their walking pattern. Basically, built an animation of their walking.
Yeah.
Then they put a tiny little weight on the shoe, on one of the shoes or something, like put a. It was small. It was like a 20-gram weight on the toe or something.
Yeah.
Make it. They basically put it in a position to offset your walking. So you lift your toe every time you take a step. They put a weight on your toe, a 20-gram weight, basically nothing.
Yeah.
And then they watch the people walk again. They totally changed their entire walking pattern just to make the amount of energy they expended slightly less because of the weight. Yeah. It's not like, oh, you just walk the same, but it's slightly more tiring.
Yeah.
People will adapt to take we're like water. We'll flow downhill, take the easiest way up.
Efficient.
Very efficient. It's a very powerful tool. But it means that when we're given something like instant communication with texting, we immediately say, well, now you need to communicate with me instantly.
Yeah.
And you need... Like, when I first got my phone with data, it was like, I can send a letter to my German cousin, let's say.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have a German cousin, but I can send a letter to my German cousin instantly. It's amazing. It's a marvel. If teleporters were made, you'd be expected to visit your aunt in Australia every weekend.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, the once every 5-year trip to my aunt is now really convenient. No, you must now move up to that level.
Yeah.
House cleanliness. The amount of work people put into cleaning their houses has not gone down over time as vacuum cleaners, dishwashers, washing machines were invented.
It's insane. I think it was our teacher.
The wage did not go up once 2 people started working in a household.
Yeah.
It just got halved.
Like he was talking about, I can't remember who it was, but was talking about when they first got a washing machine. And his grandmother sat there and watched it the whole time. Because even though it was a 2-hour cycle, it was faster than her doing the whole laundry. And it was like mind-blowing to her. And she probably only could do that once.
But now you wash your clothes you throw your clothes in the laundry after 2 days instead of 3, or 1 day instead of 2. Or
it's like, the vacuum cleaner. Now your wife doesn't have to sweep the house for 3 hours. Your wife now has the vacuum cleaner. She vacuums up the house, then she does the taxes because she has so much extra time.
Except, no, she just cleans the house 3 times as often.
Yeah, or that. And
the one that actually bothers me quite a bit is the wage, where a single person could support an entire household. Mm-hmm. And now 2 people often can struggle.
Yeah.
Now, a point where 1 person could support an entire household was a very short window.
Yes.
But we actually have... Automation has done nothing for our time. It has just made us want more.
Yeah.
It'd be really... It's interesting how there are people in different parts of the world that make totally different amounts of money and all get along basically the same. Yeah. Even though they don't have the same amount of...
Okay, well, so very surreal in regards to that. So there's this guy who I've talked to him twice now on his stream, and he's a fine enough fellow. But one of the interesting streams was an art appreciation stream, and he commissioned a piece of art that was actually really cool, and the person he commissioned to was on that stream. Now, she's from the Philippines, and talking with her and like her prices and range and stuff, and she was talking about like saving a bunch of money to afford a tablet, and it's like $400 for a tablet for her, and that's like saving up that money was quite difficult. Now her commissions are like whatever to help fund her, but like the cost of things in the Philippines and like her living cost is kind of insane because she uses American dollars for her cost price and stuff. But it's like, holy cow, it's so different. But we're just like, yeah, communicating, talking, and it's just like
So
almost same relation of life. And
a AAA video game in Brazil
yeah,
costs a month's wage.
yeah,
You basically can buy one a year if you save and that's all you spend it on. Or you can do what all Brazilians do and just pirate everything.
yeah,
Because I don't even think that's unreasonable.
yeah,
I don't think they should be expected to buy, because it's ridiculous that they now Steam actually does account for this occasionally, but unfortunately
it's
gray markets abuse it.
yeah,
And there's people that say, oh well, it's just me getting the game cheaper, yay me. But what you're doing is you're disincentivizing people from lowering the prices for places like Australia and Brazil and the UK to some extent, Canada.
And Canada, all those third world
Yeah,
countries.
especially Brazil though.
Yeah.
Brazil and there's a couple Eastern European places that have this
Yeah,
issue
Eastern Europe. There's a reason why they play the Eurojank games,
because they just can't afford the other stuff, I imagine.
and their computers can't run them.
And then of course there's places like Haiti or Dominican Republic where a computer is not the thing. Like in Brazil, they're like, oh man, I can't get any games. In something like Haiti or Dominican Republic,
Cuba
or Cuba, that isn't on the table. But I don't actually think. Look, when I didn't have a computer, I wanted one hugely because it could do so much. I could do so much with it. And now that I have it, it is a massive roadblock that is not in my way. I can do so much.
Yeah.
But there's so much I can't do because I don't have a powerful enough computer. And if I got the most powerful computer, there would be something else that I need. So I don't think that feeling of if I only just will ever go away.
Well,
so
I mean, do you know what the specs I got my computer for? Because there's the things I tell myself I got it for, which is being able to do 3D modeling, be able to do video editing. It's very optimistic, the actual specs I got for, which was to play Elder Scrolls 6. That's the specs my computer is designed for, is to play Elder Scrolls 6. At the time, the theory was Elder Scrolls 6 was going to come out in 2024. But I figured it'd come out in 2026. Yeah, so I don't know if I'll need a new computer by the time Elder Scrolls 6
I don't
comes
think
out.
so. I think that demands are going to go way down for video game needs.
Yeah, but that's the specs my computer's designed for.
For multiple reasons. The technology is getting way better, way more efficient.
Yeah.
NVIDIA, I don't know if you saw this, a couple months ago, they released a technology that can convert a 3D model into, to human eye, identical looking 3D model.
Yeah.
With 1,000th the amount of polygons.
Yeah.
So what they basically do is when a human modeler makes a 3D model, they're very inefficient about it.
Yeah.
And so this just makes an efficient version of it.
Yeah.
And then you have stuff like Epic Games' Unreal Engine 5, which can run those really big ones that NVIDIA solves, but it can run those big ones like they're nothing because it's so efficient. And then it's got its new lighting and sound. So there's that part of it.
And if we have to wait to 2034 for Elder Scrolls 6, then hopefully I'll use that technology.
So the software technology is getting much better. On top of that, we have realized in the last 2-3 years that we've companies want to sell to people.
Yeah.
Nobody has a PS5. Nobody has a 3000 series NVIDIA graphics card.
Yeah.
The supply shortage is supposed to last until about 2024 at earliest. It could be longer. And that's for not only the end product like graphics cards and whatnot, that's like chip shortage and whatnot.
Yeah.
So if you're a game company, you can't be making games for a technology that's 4 years down the
You
line.
can't be doing the cutting edge.
Graphics has to become secondary. We've reached a point where the cost benefit is too much for the consumer.
Yeah.
So if game design becomes the new thing, then that would be a positive actually.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be they're leaning more towards switching over to gambling and how much they can scam out of a person.
Yeah.
But, that would be very cool. Also, so one thing, tying way back, with your YouTube channel. So when did you start doing the Hollow Live thing? Does it correspond with the drop-off?
Yeah. Actually, it does. The live streaming actually corresponds with the drop-off.
Now, I'm not saying it did cause it, but looking for what did you do differently from that point on, it is interesting.
The main difference is I started live streaming.
Which would be a shame, because your live streams actually got more views than a lot of your videos. I don't know why that would be the case. Maybe you just need a separate live stream channel?
Yeah, weird YouTube calculation stuff.
Yeah. Because you started live streaming about a month or two before you did the I don't know what they're called, VTuber thing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I also did the VTuber off and on.
So it'd be interesting to compare the so you have about a 2 month period or so, let's say, where you're live streaming. So did the drop stop at the beginning of that, or did it stop once you switched to VTuber? Or is there a third variable in there, like you changed up your naming scheme, you changed up, or of course this is the advantage of saying you're responsible for something.
Yeah.
It's probably YouTube just changed its code and everything went sideways. I mean, it's not bad, but YouTube probably just changed its code and something changed. But
I have my own theory.
If you say there's nothing I can do about that, so I'll focus on what I can change, then it is worth looking at.
Yes.
Sort of.
So my theory is, well, I mean, there could be the change in algorithm. It could be my audience just getting older.
It stopped in May.
Going to school. The pandemic restrictions have been constantly lifting. I think I actually got a massive boost from that. I think a lot of YouTubers going to find they got a massive boost from people being locked inside.
Here's another thing that changed. This is a weird one.
Yeah.
I stopped being able to talk at the end of May.
Ooh.
I don't know why that would be linked. But because when I was talking, I was commenting on all your videos, basically. And we can see what happens. This December is the month there it goes.
Well, so I have one video that basically accounts for 25 to 30% of my views.
Wow.
Every single day. And I figure maybe everyone who was going to watch that video has watched it by now. I mean, people keep watching it, and if you compare it to Text Conjuration, the Eyeball Guy,
Half Asian Squat.
Is that it?
Yeah.
A Half Asian Squat, Direwolf.
Yeah.
The video has actually reached 10% of their videos max viewing.
Yeah.
And so their videos keep getting viewed, and they can get several million views, and this video has I think gotten 1/10 of a million views on it or something.
Gee.
Yeah.
That's a lot though.
Yeah, no, it's rather insane, that video, how many views it's gotten basically compared to my entire channel.
Yeah.
So it's maybe everyone who's watched it will watch it ever. But to whatever point it is, it's sort of part of the reason why it went so much up in Halloween is the video is about vampires.
Right.
And so a bunch of people are watching vampire stuff. And I also made 2 new videos about vampirism in October. And people stopped watching it as much afterwards. And so it's who knows? And also, that video did a very weird thing where I made that video, and for 6 months, it followed below trajectory of my guide videos. I didn't have many at the time. Then, basically 11 months ago, the video went, hey, guess what? Bam! And basically tons of subscribers came to my channel, tons of stuff. It going bam made all my other videos go, whoa, bam! And it sort of just did this crazy thing to my whole channel.
That's still my belief. Quality and consistency eventually pay off.
Yeah.
You can chase a trend and you get a little boost, and then you get a bunch of dead subscribers, basically.
Yeah.
Or quality, look at Van Gogh.
Yes.
He had made very good paintings, and several years after he died, they started selling for a lot of money.
Well, so I have another Tanya video that's sort of going blah, 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 blah. That's the best way I can describe it. And that's the second most popular video I had, and it jumped up. And the thing about another video I had is it was going along, it was actually quite low. Then it jumped up, and I was like, oh, it's doing pretty well. It's my 10th best video. And then it kept going along, and then it jumped up. It's my 5th best video. And then it jumped up. This is my 3rd best video. And so they can do that multiple times, and they have periods where they jump and burst.
I think the most important thing with like discouragement and whatnot is just consistency. Like just keep going. Like the guy that made
Well, but like having that drop actually teach me what gives YouTubers burnouts, what kills channels, like a lot of the problems that people face. I just can't handle this anymore.
and if you can handle it or not.
Yeah, well, I basically went through. I was like, I'm not sure if I can handle this anymore. Like my life could be a whole bunch different. And then I was like, or I could change my outlook on how I'm doing these videos and how I'm doing all this. And then that change of outlook's just like such a big weight on my shoulders. And it's like, mate, you're failing. Like you're doing terrible. Like you were above like 20,000 views or whatever. Well, I don't know numbers, but let's say like 20,000 views a month. And now you're dropping back down to 19. Oh, you're failing. And I was like, idiot, you barely scraped at like 100 views a month at one point, and then you climb up and you barely like.
Another very important thing in there is, if you're this is a failure, this is so stressful, there's no much way. If it's not working, you should stop. No, I'm not saying that if you're not getting success, you should stop.
It's like
it's if you yourself, like look at this podcast, right?
Yes.
It's not. Like, I was thinking about it. We might be able to do episode 2 in the next, 3-4 years once we get 100 views on the first one. I don't know. If we're lucky. It might be another 10 years from now. Who knows?
Yes.
But I enjoy doing it. I don't know if you do it but I really enjoy doing it.
I quite like it. And
so I really don't care if people watch or not.
Yeah, well...
And so with your YouTube channel, the only way to avoid burnout is to be doing it because you're doing it.
Yeah.
Now, obviously... feedback feels great and it's nice, but at the end of the day, if the feedback dies and you don't have that baseline of I'm doing this because this is what I want to do, like if you right now would rather be sewing quilts, you should be sewing quilts instead of doing YouTube. YouTube is a hobby. Treat it as such. Don't let it consume you and be your failure success. Now YouTube can be a career, and that's what makes it confusing and tricky, but so can quilting.
If
you're good enough,
so can any startup.
So with quilting as well, you eventually get to the point where you're like, I'm going to double down and do this. But you do the double down once you're ready.
Also, I mean, I'm looking at YouTube as well. Any other entertainment career. So there are people, they're a star. They rock it up. That's like the shooting stars. Like you rock it up, you get there.
There's people like Christopher Lee who spent 10 years as a minor actor just trying to get a break.
Christopher Lee, 10 years. Joe Rogan said, most comedians, it takes them 7 years to even get recognized. 7 years of doing stand-up comedy, and you have to be practicing and get good to be recognized, and then after that you have to get lucky, continue for a bit of while longer, then maybe after so you hit your 7 years, and 3 years after that you could get into the comedy club, you could do a big show. Some people just continue on, that's Scottish guy, he's saying, I made $666 from this gig I did. It's some comedians that's nothing, others just pretty good for them. And it's that's a good amount of money for him doing a gig, and the guy's really, really funny. And
you need consistency is huge.
But it's I'm being at this for 3 years. 3 years, massive growth.
And if it keeps up, by the time you get to 7 years, you will be at a point.
Well,
and if it keeps up, when you get to 7 years, you'll have everyone on Earth watching you.
if it follows the trajectory of the jumps it does of magnitude, then yes, actually everyone on Earth after 7 years will be watching my channel.
Excellent. And if that continues for this channel, we'll still have 8 subscribers.
Yes. But talking on this channel, it's just very nice to have a dedicated time to talk to someone. It's we're going to talk about whatever we come up with.
It lets you organize your thoughts too, I think.
It's the thing about men hiding in the bathroom? I'm not say, oh, this is a men's space or whatever, but it's we can basically have a conversation without interruption to a certain point by doing this. And also it's
practice. It's a time you set aside for conversation.
Yeah, it's practice for public speaking.
And just communication in general. It's very useful.
Well,
we're a mess right now even, but we're so much better than when we started.
So much better than we were. And it also, for me, I used to practice drawing art. I have a good 4 hours, half an hour to 4 hours every 2 weeks where I can just go, I'm going to do some art. I'm going to practice digital art skills. I'm going to do it. and we'll see what I make.
Yes, I'm glad to give you the opportunity to practice your art. I'm a selfless human being. Work, slave, work.
Well, sometimes, like I said, half an hour. Like the last one I did, the last thumbnail I did, it was half an hour. Some are 4 hours work, but the last one was just like...
I feel bad sometimes. You put so much more work in than me for the channel, and I feel like I get all the benefit by just doing all the talking.
I mean, my editing is like... And did we say we have to get... Yeah, we have to get rid of that part. Okay, I'll cut that out. Music lamp at the beginning, music lamp at the end. Drop the out. Okay, upload. Tippy tap tap tap. Yeah, that's good enough. Bosh.
So yeah, I think with anything basically, but consistency and also learning.
Mm-hmm.
So your channel, it goes flatline in terms of growth, which is... If your acceleration is only steady, that still means you're going to go faster and faster. But so that goes flat, let's say. That period, it's if you want to, that's the most important part, and you have to determine that for yourself, and that's when you get hit by the question, is this what I want to do, or do I have to change how I do it? And so that point there, that's one thing, is consistency. And then the second part is still learn. So you Dark Side Phil, he's a great example of consistency, and he has made his career out of consistency, but he does not learn from his mistakes. His channel's been dying for like a decade.
Yeah.
And he's a laughingstock of YouTube in a way. He's sort of, because he has no self-awareness of that, he's destroying his relationships, the people that support him. He's a very negative person. All he has to do is accept responsibility for his mistakes.
Yeah.
And change just a little bit, and he would be a rocketing success, because people, despite 10 years of abuse basically to his audience, they still watch him and they still pay him. I mean, maybe they're just doing it because they want to see him suffer, but they keep doing it. And if he just learned and took responsibility for things...
Well, also, I mean, recently I've built a very different weird base, and it's thanks to one of, like, I know people's like, oh, one of the community members. When I think about community members, I have two.
Yeah.
Like, there's the guy who helps me with the mods.
And Gaming Weeb. He comments on all your live streams without fail.
Gaming Weeb is a different, like, he's like community member, he's there, he like talks about it, he's good to talk with.
Yeah.
But the other is Anna, because Anna's set up a bloody server that they let me use. And so it's like, okay.
Just the sheer amount of engagement, like Eco, I think his name is, and Gaming Weeb.
Yeah.
That alone is something, I think.
Yeah, that's something, but like...
But you have staff.
Yeah, like, that's like... well, we're paying me for a bit. I have staff that are paying me for a bit, and it's like, you don't have to, like... But one guy builds the mod packs, does the mods, does research for me, and it's like, hey, check this out. And that's really cool. Another person set up a server, runs it, makes sure it keeps going. It's like, people on my Discord's like, hey, the server's down. It's like, oh yeah, mistake, I'll fix that. It's like, one guy's like, I have an update for the server. Sends it to the person who does the server. They update it, do that.
Yeah, have you noticed once people get to around 50,000 viewers on YouTube,
they can just get minions?
Well, not that. They don't have to generate content anymore because all they have to do is interact with their audience, and that alone sustains it becomes self-sustaining.
Well, that's what I say. So my Discord had it jumped between 40 and 50 people bleeding off, people coming on. And now it's getting awfully close to having 80 people on it, and it's because they come to the Discord, we'll explain how to get onto the server. The server can only hold 20 people at once. At most, I think there's 10 people on the server at any time, but it's just like people coming in. And those videos are really weird, because unlike the anime videos, like I put a ton of work into those, I haven't made one for a while because... Yeah, anyways. Or my other like series I do, those videos, their viewing is, like, it's slow over time, and they watch for 10 minutes versus like my average watch time is 5. Like, this is 10.
They want to see if you show off their house.
Yeah, or whatever. Like, they want the interaction. And like, these videos are, I actually really like them because even though I'm slightly putting less work, they are the most interactive piece of content I've done besides the live stream, but they don't take as much of my soul as the live stream does.
Like, all iBox Toy Cat does is watch his viewers mess around in his server. Yeah. Like, he doesn't even play on the server. He just watches them.
Well, like, one of the things that people are so far ahead of me in that server, and it's like, I can record for an hour and get 3 videos, and I have to edit those videos. It's like, well, I've done it. Like, I've made 3 videos, and then someone's like, I have to feed the Ender Dragon, I have achieved godhood. And then there's me there like, I got diamond armor, I've enchanted it, guys.
Yeah, it's...
But like, one person on the server is literally setting up a teleportation network to everyone's bases. It's like, okay.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing for your channel, the secret pill, which we've been promising for like 2 years. Once I get on there, oh,
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, oh man, this.
His annoying old. Why is there another video with his annoying older brother on it?
He did that one video like 2 years ago, and it was his worst video ever with the stinking, whatever that was called, totally accurate battle simulator. Yeah. All right.
Over there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you said you met those guys on the live stream and they're nice, but you don't know that. You talked to them for like 3-4 times.
Yeah.
Like, they're probably horrible people.
Maybe.
I see a lot of YouTubers say, "Oh, he's a really nice guy." You don't know that.
I
He
also
probably kicks puppies.
I give a lot of benefits of the doubt.
Yeah, but I'm not going to. You jerk! How dare you talk to my brother? Keep away from him, you creep! All right, bye.
Bye.
you